Yeah. It's episode number 131 of the Klyph Notes podcast. Definitely appreciate y'all tapping in. Appreciate y'all spreading the word. Letting folk know what we doing over here at DJ Klyph Productions. Shout out to my people all over the world who continue to tap in. All my folk in India continue to be our biggest listening audience, which is dope. And of course, home base, West Coast, Northwest. Definitely appreciate all of y'all, man. For real. Hey, yo, this episode is so cool. I had an opportunity to connect with an artist who was making her way through the city for the first time. It was dope. She did a set at the Thesis. You're gonna hear about that. Shout out to those folk over there, man. My guy DJ Verbs and the whole collective, the whole crew. She passed through the Welcome to the Neighborhood radio show, and it was dope, man, because unbeknownst to me, how you say that? We had a chance to celebrate the 1 year anniversary of her project that she released a little bit ago. On the day that she came through the studio. So it was so cool. The Your Type EP. And then we just sat and chopped it up, man. Such a good conversation. And I have become a huge fan in a very short amount of time of my guest on this episode of the Klyph Notes podcast. So y'all get ready for this one. It's Rkhty on Klyph Notes. Let's go. Support for the Klyph Notes podcast comes from Akepele Apparel, an idea born from a love of hip-hop, funk, and soul music and its surrounding cultures. With fashion being a huge visual part of the cultures, they've created expressive images to pay homage, invoke nostalgia, and showcase the elements that make up the lifestyle and cultures of these genres. Akepele, apparel for the music lifestyle. For more information, check out akepele.com. That's AKEPELE.com. Yes, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of the Klyph Notes podcast. Available everywhere you get your podcast. Yo, this one's really, really cool because I get to really have a conversation with someone who I am really just getting to know, which sometimes is the case, oftentimes is not the case. Very, very grateful to have you bless the podcast as you are live in our city, the city of Portland, Oregon. First time in Portland. Mm-hmm. And just rocked the Thesis this week. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Verve. Shout out to all my folk over at the Thesis for bringing such amazing people through. But let them know who you are.
What's up, guys? My name is Rkhty. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I am a singer, songwriter, and a voiceover actress.
Voiceover actress?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
See, that's why we had these conversations.
See? Surprise.
Yo, so as I said, man, first time in Portland. What you think?
It's good.
Yeah?
It's rainy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's very quiet. It's calming.
Yeah.
There's a sense of calm in the city that I'm not necessarily used to.
It's funny you say that because I was talking to my wife and I were watching some program. I think she's watching the morning show or something like that on Apple TV. At any rate, it takes place in New York. Mm. And she was like, yeah, my wife was saying, I don't want to go to New York. It just seems like it's too busy.
It is. There's nothing I can say. Like, even now with things reopening, like, it's just, it's always hustle and bustle. It's always a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
And it's good to get away sometimes. I mean, that'll always be home for me. Yeah. But there is a notable difference in Portland for me as far as like just the energy surrounding everything.
Yeah, no doubt. So I shout out to Brookfield Deuce and the whole Grand National team. Brookfield hit me. You know what I mean? He hit me. He was like, yo, my people are coming up there. I just want to get y'all tapped in. And so I had to do my homework because I really shame on me. I really wasn't right? Wasn't super familiar with your art, man. And I turned on Tidal and just entered your name on Tidal. And the first thing that comes up is a lot of artists that you did guest work on.
And then I get to hear some of the stuff that's truly, truly yours. Tell me a little bit of your story in terms of how you got started in music and got to where you are today.
Yeah, I mean, so my story starts off somewhat similar to most artists, right? I started off in church. But even in that, I've done I've been a part of a number of choruses or choirs in the city itself. And I didn't really tap into being like a solo artist until after college. Because I went to grad school for audiology, and I was like, oh, I don't. This is not for me. I do not like this. I want to help people, but this ain't it for me. So I left. I came back home, and then I kind of just figured it out because for me, of course, New York is a hub for music and all things art.
Right.
But if you're not involved in it, like you really are kind of like an outsider. So I really had to kind of like build my connections from there. And I'm not necessarily like a super outgoing person. So I literally had to give myself pep talks. So like go up to people like, hi, I'm a singer. And then of course I didn't have music because I never really recorded as a solo artist. And they're like, all right, cool.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
So, it's just been a journey over time to kind of get to where I am right now. And
that's what's up, man. So as I said, when I first started hearing, aside from the joints that Brookfield sent me, when I was listening to your stuff on the streaming services, I hear you doing guest spots on a lot of artists, but like a lot of music that speaks to me in terms just sonically and then content wise. When you are making music or when you're connecting with other people to make music, is there a thought of I want to connect with people who have a certain energy, or I'm being very selective about who I'm making music with, or is it just we're like people who are making music, we're just going to go in and create? And
right. So the music that's out right now, these are people that I've kind of fostered relationships with for the most part. And I've known them for quite some time, so it was kind of easy. It's more of like I got this track, like, here you go, like, what do you think? Do you want to do it? And then I was like, oh yeah, I could shake a little feather on this joint real quick. But I think for me moving forward, like I want to step out of my comfort zone and work with more people that don't necessarily fit the grain of the music that I've been doing as well.
Yeah.
So it's a process. And then, it was a little different. At one point I stopped doing music.
Oh, word.
Yes. So, for quite some time I kind of just went off the grid. There's been several times that I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Just because of the challenges of the industry or just life?
Both.
Yeah.
It was both. I think for me, at first I hit a wall and I was just like, what am I doing? Like I'm spending all this money. I'm not really getting any notoriety and I'm seeing everybody else kind of like literally blow past me. Like I know and I've known a lot of people that are just kind of, it was their moment and they kind of just catapulted to like where they are now. And I was just getting frustrated.
Yeah.
So, even in that, and then my dad passed away and I kind of was just like, what's life again? We're not going to do this. And I was just like, I'm not going to do this. So during that time, like my friends were like, nah, you should still record.
Yeah.
It's fine. You should still do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. They're like, no, you should still do it. It's fine. Yeah. So even like my friend and our producer V, she was like, come to the studio real quick. I got something to show you. And I'm like, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
So it's just been a mixture of things, but I'm happy that I stuck with it because it's like every time I perform, I'm like, oh, I forgot what this feels like.
Yes.
And then, when I perform with a band, it's super fun because you get to share that energy with people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's what's up, man. And it sounds like you have just really good people in your circle of influence, which makes all the difference in the world in those tough times. Shout out to Melissa over there.
Shout out to Melissa.
One of the things that comes across in the music that you've made that I've heard thus far is you have a very there's a very soulful sound to not just to your vocals, but listening to the words that you write. I think it feels like what I've heard from you would really fit in the R&B category, but it's very, very soulful. And you talk about your journey starting in the church, like so many of us. I would imagine that it can't help but have an influence on your process.
Well, the thing is, so I went to Seventh-day Adventist church.
Get out of the city.
And if anybody knows about the Seventh-day, right, it's different.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's completely different.
Absolutely.
It's a different vibe.
Yeah.
So it was, at least when I was going, it's a very like prim and proper, and you have to be very
conservative.
structured.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, so I didn't get that soul from there.
Yeah, okay.
just put it that way. I didn't get that soul.
Yeah.
I would say I would give it more so to like the music that I was listening to at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up around a lot of older people too.
Got you.
So I would say that was definitely an influence. And even like when I was singing at church, I put a little riff in here and there. But I would say that because I grew up in the Seventh-day Adventist church, or I spent, a lot of my formative years there.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have like the singing structure of someone that grew up in like a Southern or like a Baptist kind of church.
Yeah.
So, and I'm aware of that. Like riffs and all that other stuff, that's not my thing.
Yeah.
So I would say even like sometimes I feel like I'm a little bit conservative in my music, and it's because of that. It's just like don't do that.
It's funny because as I mentioned, I was born in Jersey, and the Seventh-day Adventist Church was all that I've ever known. And I tell people that I'm not a practicing Seventh-day Adventist now, not so much to, more so because I don't want people to look at me and be like, yo, I thought you was, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to shine a negative light on Adventism. But going to the Seventh-day Adventist Church in the Northeast, and then moving to the South and going to
different.
Very different.
I've gone to other churches in different countries.
Yeah.
I had a teacher. I did study abroad in DR, and my teacher happened to be a Seventh-day Adventist. And it's just, it's a different influence too, because like, so my parents are from Guyana, I grew up in a very like Caribbean community.
Yeah.
And I feel like the Caribbeans are very like strict.
Yeah.
So it's different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Different things take on different forms based on community and culture.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
So we thank you so much for doing the radio show. We just came off of doing Welcome to the Neighborhood. And one of the things that we all realized together while you were on the show is that today is a very special day when it comes to your music.
Happy anniversary to my EP, Your Type.
Yo, that's so, congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Congratulations. When you look back now, a year later after completing that project, because you talked about how that's something that you've been working on for a while, but as you look back now on completing it and where you are 1 year later, 1 year to the day later, how do you see that project? Because oftentimes people will tell me, I look back on music I made in the past and I feel differently. When you look back on that project, how do you feel?
I feel good. Like this was the first project that I released that I actually worked on with my friends from the respect of them writing for me.
Okay.
Like I've always been kind of like, let me just figure this out. Let me just do this. But writing doesn't necessarily always come easy for me.
Yeah.
And it's funny because a lot of the people that wrote on the project are rappers. Nothing Less. My friend Warren Wint, he wrote Nothing Less.
Okay.
Well, I can't even say the project. I recorded a bunch of songs, and the 4 songs are the ones that made it to the EP. But even like recording the album that is supposed to be coming up, we'll see here or there.
What do you mean we'll see? Look, we gonna pin this joint down tonight, baby.
We'll see. Well, even I would say this, right? So the Your Type EP started off as an album, and I was like, you know what? Let me just not release an album right now, because the previous project that I had was it was more of a mixtape, because it was an ode to a lot of like hip hop songs and just like a lot of reworks.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, I'm doing something different. Let me just release this little tidbit and, see how well it's received and, how we go.
Yeah.
So it's allowed me to be able to work with my friends in a different capacity that I have before.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that because, they are really great artists in their right, and they hold me to a higher standard. And even like recording the Nothing Less project song, it was hard because Warren was not letting up. He was like, "That's not what I said. That's not the beat." He was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
And it was just like,
yeah.
Can I just do it? And for me, like, you give me a song, I'm gonna do it my way. He's like, "Yo, son," like, "Yo, what are you doing?"
No, well, especially on that beat. Like, come on, bro. That's that's Wu-Tang. You can't, you know what I mean?
Yeah. He's
you
like,
gotta come correct.
What's wrong with you? So
no, that's so dope. So, is the album done?
It's done.
What we waiting on, y'all?
We gotta, I just gotta modify a couple.
Okay. I'm such a fan of good people who make great art, and I am anxious to hear more and more of that art, because I think that as I say, when I listen to the music that you make, it hits a certain kind of way, right? So I'm excited for people to hear more of it, but I also understand the value of patience. So I will be patient.
I appreciate you,
but I will also be on you. Like, I'm tripping. So we are, we're recording this in November. We're almost 2 years into this whole pandemic situation, which is crazy.
Yeah.
One of the things I've worked to be mindful of is to really just check in with people, to see how are people through this process. How are you through these changes that have happened, right? So you, as an artist, you want to perform. Obviously, you want to get out and share your art with people and have an opportunity to touch them and have them touch you in a real way. So how are you doing through this process?
I would say that I'm very grateful because I'm fine. Like, it's funny, but it's not funny.
Yeah.
But like I mentioned, like, I'm not necessarily like the biggest extrovert. So everybody was locked down, and I was like,
chilling.
Hey guys, what's going on? Like,
right.
I wasn't really tripping or whatever.
Yeah.
And the pandemic has really allowed me to get my personal life in order. So that's kind of what I'm still doing in order to make more space for music.
Got you.
So I'm good. I'm grateful. My family is safe. My friends are safe.
Yeah.
Like, I have had some losses, but overall, I'm good.
That's
I'm
what's
fine.
up, man. That's
How are
what's
you?
up. I'm so blessed. It's been interesting for me. I think I mentioned I've been able to continue to do the radio show remotely. So I haven't missed being able to do that. It's dope to be able to do it live back at the station now. And then in terms of the podcast, I've really become pretty proficient at using Zoom.
Look at you.
But the dope thing is that, Welcome to the Neighborhood was really built on supporting the local scene. But now I've been able to connect with artists literally from all over the world, which
because
has been,
of that. Because you
absolutely.
had to do more of a digital outreach.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And so, for me, it's been in a very strange way. It's been an opportunity to grow what I've done, and I'm grateful for it. And my family's healthy, my wife's healthy. We've both been able to continue to work. We both work in healthcare for our 9 to 5, so we've gotten to see a lot of stuff, which makes me even more grateful that we are where we are. So I'm good. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, it's been a doozy to say the least.
100%. 100%. Like no one in how many generations have seen anything like this?
Yeah, I'm grateful. Like, the pandemic has been quite interesting, and it's just, I think that there was this like push for artists to create more, make more, and for me, that made me feel even more withdrawn from everything, because I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't even know how I feel, much more or less, to like be able to create. And I'm like, oh man, I feel like I missed my moment kind of thing. And I'm just like, you know what? Life is too short. I'm not gonna let y'all stress me out. So
100%. That does
I'm here
not help
to cheer
it.
other people on. And
Yeah.
there have been a lot of people that I know that have blown up over the pandemic because they were able to do that.
Yeah.
But that just wasn't my journey.
Yeah.
And I've accepted it, and that's kind of it.
That's what's up. Well, I'm glad that that we are now connected, because I want you to know that my platforms are your platform. So whether it be Welcome to the Neighborhood on X-Ray, whether it be the Rhythm on the Numbers, whether it be the podcast, I mean, whatever platforms I have, because again, I love what I've heard from you. I believe in your art, and then getting to talk to you even more so. I really want to see you do well. I really want to see you, live out your dream or your desire to have this be something that is sustainable.
Yeah.
So know that you definitely have a home,
Thank you.
with my platforms.
Who knew? All
Right?
the way in Portland, Oregon.
Come on now.
Who knew?
Okay, so what's up with this voiceover stuff, yo?
What do you mean?
So you got how do we what's up with that? Like, tell me the story.
Well, honestly, so a lot of the times, like when you're recording in between takes, you're just joking around, and I'm like, I like how I sound, and I'm like, I could do this. And for the most part, this is just an extension of creativity.
Yes.
I always have an idea about something. You can ask anybody. So for me, doing the voiceover is just kind of like a small stepping stone. I've done some work for some local businesses in Brooklyn as well. So I've been able to kind of like do their treatment, direct the videos, and essentially just do an ad. So essentially what I've been doing is just like writing the content for them, and then directing it, and then just putting it out.
Wow.
So it's not just an voiceover. It's more of like a general like ad that you see on TV. So if anybody wants a voiceover, please contact me at rkhtyvoice@gmail.com.
That's what's up. Okay, so I said when we was doing the radio show, I had to do my little bit of homework, and I was watching some of the interviews that you've done, and there's a common question, and I said I wasn't going to ask the question, but actually I do want to ask the question because I did see you speak a little bit about it, and I actually think it's pretty interesting. So, what is the history of your name?
Right. So my name is Rkhty. Rkhty. A lot of people are like, that's not even a real word because there's no vowels. I'm like, well, it's not an Anglo-Saxon word, so we don't need that there. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, I love it.
My dad, he named me after an Egyptologist that he knows or that he knew. She's still alive, still practicing, still teaching.
Yeah.
Her name is Rkhty Amen. And you got to think about it too. Like I think he met her in like the 70s, and he was just very impressed by the work that she was doing. And for you to be, she's a Black female Egyptologist in a very male-dominated, industry.
Yeah.
And a lot of, she had to go through a lot to kind of like prove that she was, of a caliber to be where she is right now.
Yeah.
And my dad, at that time he was studying Egyptology.
Yeah.
So he named me after her, and I think he mentioned to her that he was going to name me after her.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it registered because I spoke to her later on, maybe like 2-3 years ago actually. And she was just like, I didn't really know you exist. I didn't know. She's like, I didn't know you existed.
Yeah.
And it's funny because her husband was in the background. He was like, no, I remember him telling you. So I don't know if she was multitasking and kind of just slipped by her, but she was just like, she was very happy that there was another Rkhty out there. So, it's interesting. I love my name.
Yeah.
I really love it. And it means one who knows or wise one or teacher.
Oh, I love that.
And I asked him, I was like, you named me? He was like, you named me after her. I was like, dude, did I live up to the name? He was like, I think you have.
Right.
Because I would just ask him like random questions.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm going to try my best. That's the only thing that I can do. I could just try my best.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's so dope, man. And I think that to me, it's dope on a couple of different levels. One, that the history of that name in that case, as you're saying, being named after someone who obviously the work that she's done and the way, like you said, the things that she had to go through to be who she is, I think is dope.
And she's still practicing. She
cool.
teaches Medinecha, which is what people know as hieroglyphics.
Okay, yeah.
And her goal is to be able to teach people of African descent Medinecha, because she feels like that is a good base for people of African descent to be able to learn about who they are.
Oh, wow.
Because Egypt, for the most part, is a central part of Africa. And there, for me, I think there's probably a lot more documentation on Egypt that dates back further than anywhere else within Africa.
Yeah.
So, I definitely feel like I have a responsibility to not only my father, but to her to kind of just be the best version of myself. And I think, once he passed away, I started to think more so about my life. Mm-hmm. And like at one point, I think that I let an expectation that I made out of myself to be this daughter for him. And it was just like, no, you just need to live your life and be your best self.
Yeah.
And so, it's taken time, and here I am.
That's
Rkhty.
What's up, man.
R to the K to the H to the T to the
Come
Y.
on now. Well, here's the other thing I think that's dope about your name is if anybody's Googling you, they ain't gonna confuse you with nobody else.
If anything, she's the only one that comes up, and
right,
it's not her. Right. So
no, that's dope. That's so dope. Yeah. Okay, so we have the album to look forward to. See how I keep coming back to that? We have the album to look forward to. We were talking when we were on air about artists now having opportunities to start touching stages again. So as we mentioned, you hit the Thesis. Mm-hmm. How many have you had an opportunity to do many performances in 2021 yet?
A couple, a handful.
Yeah.
I performed in Oakland in July. I did a show. What month is this? I think in October. Okay. Listen, time is just flying by so quickly. Man. It's just, I'm just trying to hold on to something.
Yeah.
But really, that's kind of here and there. You know what's crazy too? Thinking about that, I had a performance February 2020, and that was it. Like right before.
Oh wow.
Matter of fact, it was Valentine's Day, and that was it. And it was at SOB's.
Oh, wow.
That was the first time I had ever performed at SOB's, and I was like, this is a big deal. Let me just like sit in a corner real quick. Yeah. I didn't even tell my friends, and it was a super last minute thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, here we go. Mm-hmm. And that was off the cusp of me just kind of getting right back into music from me not doing music for quite some time.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit, and I was like, oh, well, I'm back to not performing live anymore.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. So I was I've talked to a couple of artists about that. There are situations where you have that opportunity, that event, that tour, that whatever, that release that really feels like that's going to be a jumping off point. And then the pandemic hits and everything just stops. I was talking to the artist Wynn, who was on earlier, and she talked about how there's a depression that can come on you after that, right? Because when you're in that place where people are recognizing and appreciating your art, and you have that feedback from individuals, and then it's gone, how that can really weigh heavy. And my first thought was, well, yeah, that means you can take that and use your creativity to make more art. But it seems like that's what she was saying.
It's a different vibe performing live.
Yeah.
Like, even, recently when I did the show, I had a show in Brooklyn in October. Like, I literally hadn't seen people for like 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh man, like I was so happy to see them.
Yeah.
And it was just like the energy and just like catching up on life. Yeah. And I was like, man, I miss this. Like, I miss seeing people. Like, regardless of the fact of like, I'm not necessarily an extrovert. Like, if I like you, you're gonna know.
Right.
I'm like, oh man, like, okay. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
We're getting into this slowly but surely.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So is with that, those things that you sort of described about yourself, it feels like if opportunities present themselves for you to touch stages, you're down, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to be clear for all the bookers out there who are listening.
Please contact me.
So once again, man, we're finishing out 2021, anticipating that with so many things that we've learned over the last 2 years, in terms of how to be safe and gather together, that there are going to be opportunities for us to gather and enjoy artists like yourselves.
Yeah.
So if people are listening to this and they're like, yo, I definitely want to tap in, I want to be on the schedule. I want to see what's popping up, whether it be the album that you're going to release or whether it be shows. What's the best way for people to tap in with you?
So, time out. You know what it is too about the album? Like, I had so many interviews like over the year.
Yeah.
And even the previous year that I had just been promising, like, yeah, the album's coming out and all that other stuff. And at this point in time, I hate making promises that I'm not keeping.
I hear you.
So it is coming out. I cannot tell you when. You can keep pushing for it.
Will.
I appreciate it, but it's just not right now.
Got you.
I think, and you know what? Honestly, for me, I realized I'm like, I need to give your type more.
Yeah.
A little bit more of a push, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to give your type its moment and then keep it moving. But, going back to your question, people can contact me at rkhtymgmt@gmail.com. And always feel free to reach out to me via social media and whatnot.
Okay,
and I feel like I didn't quite answer the question, so ask me again.
So just in terms of your what you're doing, how people can tap in with you, and I think that answers it. Where people can see how you're moving when you're releasing information, so that people make sure that they don't miss what you're talking about.
I think the best platform for me is Instagram.
Yeah.
So definitely like hit me up on Instagram and just let me know what you think about the project in general. And if you have any ideas, if you want some voiceovers, if you want to hear new music, I'll just send you the one that's already on the platform. That's where we're gonna go.
No doubt. It's interesting though when you talk about just letting music breathe. That's a conversation that I have with people, especially a lot of the younger artists that I get to talk to. I'm an old head, and I remember when albums or when art was released, especially hip hop, you get a 12-inch single and you'd work that single and you'd build up enough buzz to then release an album. And I feel like we live in a time now where I'm about to get on my soapbox show. I feel like we live in a time now where everything is disposable. Relationships are disposable. Art is disposable. Clothing, like everything is disposable.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, I don't think that we give art enough time. We don't give ourselves enough time to really live with art. There's a time, you can listen to a song and on the 13th time you listen to it, you hear something you didn't hear before, if you really spend time with it. And so I'm actually, as much as I'm teasing you, I'm glad that you have that perspective of let's let it live. Let's let it hit people a second and third time and make sure that everybody gets a chance to spend some time with it.
Yeah, I think that we live in a space where availability has led to things being disposable, right?
Yeah.
And because platforms, which is great, that people have and are able to release their content, people just blow through it.
Yeah.
Like I remember when Chris Brown dropped his last album, right? And it had like over 20 or 30 songs on there.
I know.
And I heard people saying like, "Oh, I blew through it." I'm like, "How did you even? How?"
Yeah.
I'm like, people release projects and people just go, they skip through it and they just don't really sit with it.
Yeah.
And it's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary from the stance of like, once one person does it, people expect you to do it. And if you're not doing it, then what are you really doing?
Yeah.
There are songs out there that are less than 2 minutes. And that feels like that's going to be the new standard. And it's just like, can I record a less than 2 minute song? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But do I want to?
Right.
Like, and then the attention span of people, I know a lot of people know that, it's just shorter and shorter.
Yeah.
And it happens to me too. And I sometimes I have to stop myself and like really sit with something and be like, no, you need to just like, I have to literally stop myself from like skipping something. I'm like, it's scary.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's where I think it's up to, it's the responsibility of folk like myself, curators, to find art and not let it become disposable, right? To make sure that I'm keeping certain songs in rotation so that people know to sit with it, so that it stays with them. And I think when we make a choice to do that, we can change that. It's sad to me that I talk to artists who release great projects and they say, yeah, so my plan is I'm going to release another song, I'm going to release an album every 2 months.
Well, oh my God. I hope was that?
No, that happens.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, sometimes it's I'm gonna release an EP, or you know, because there's a sense that I have to stay in people's like if people are gonna forget about me, and there's this pressure to always be out front because there are so many outlets, right? But I think that some of that is also a growth thing, you know, as people spend more time making art and really see the response that their art can have, or the impact that their art can have on people and the response that they get from it. I think oftentimes that's significant enough that they realize, okay, no, that's not the best look.
Yeah. So the issue is that a lot of these gatekeepers want to be artists themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
say it. Go ahead, say it.
Because that was a bar. I don't want to tell somebody that they can't do both, but you gotta pick.
Yeah.
You gotta.
Yeah.
A lot of the DJs want to be artists, and it's just like, bro, you playing music that's not even mixed on the radio because people pay you off, and I'm just so confused.
Yeah.
It makes me very upset, to say the least.
I bet I can imagine.
And it's just like, what are we really doing?
Yeah.
Like, what's the plan?
Yeah.
My biggest issue, especially being from New York, is that I personally feel, and I've seen that the radio stations are not doing what you do.
Yeah.
They do not support local artists.
Yeah.
If you're not passing them a couple of bands,
yeah.
I've been here and heard a wider array of music on the radio, and I drive at home for the most part than I have at home.
Wow.
They play the same 10 songs all the time across all the major stations.
Yeah, yeah.
And that really upsets me.
Yeah.
But this is something that I've been saying that a lot of artists in New York feel.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's unfortunate because it's just like a lot of and especially in New York, I feel like New York is like living off of its name in the respect of different things, but especially for music.
Yeah.
The music scene in New York and the support that independent artists should have is not there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, again, it's up to us to bang drums and make as much noise as we can to change the narrative, because we understand that it's an uphill battle, that there's a machine behind that, and that so much of it is driven by the dollar, where art begins to lose its value. But we know, culturally, we know that that's the one thing that we can go back, as you were talking about with the person whose name you have, right? that art is something that we can go back and look at years ahead, behind, that's always going to be there. And there's so much to gain from it. So I think we have to be very, I think it's our responsibility. Again, it's my responsibility, since I choose to have these platforms, to not let this stuff be disposable. So I make that promise that I will continue to rock this way.
I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Somebody got to do it.
Come on now, come on. Listen, man. I know that you're on the road. I just want to say it's been such a pleasure to really get to know your art, but then even more so to get to know you. Thank you for coming through and just spending some time and sharing your story as well as your art. And I'm looking forward to not only continuing to see what you have to offer us, but just continuing to build with you and be in your corner, and looking forward to our paths crossing once again.
I'll be around.
Okay.
Just give me a shout.
That's what's up. That's what's up, man.
Thank you for having me, though.
Come on, man. One more time, let them know how to tap in with you.
So all of my social media handles is Rkhty. If you would like to contact me, definitely do it through Instagram. That is like my main platform, but also feel free to email me at rkhtymgmt@gmail.com.
That's what's up, Rkhty. Live on the Klyph Notes podcast. All right, y'all. Remember to check out the Klyph Notes podcast everywhere you listen to your podcast: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Audible, anywhere you listen to audio. Literally, you can check out the Klyph Notes podcast.
He's everywhere.
Everywhere. I'm all over the place. And then also be sure to check out our supporter, our sponsor, Akepele Apparel. Big ups to Akepele. I had a chance to DJ at the pop-up today. By the time you hear this, all of their winter line will be out. So check out the website. I know. You know what? That's my bad. I was really thinking about I should have told you.
Tisk.
I know. I'm slipping. I'm slipping, man. Check out Akepele Apparel, AKEPELE.com, and scoop up some gear. And big ups to X-Ray FM for their continued support of the Klyph Notes podcast. And last but never, ever least, big ups to the homie, Theory Hazit, for creating the official theme song for the Klyph Notes podcast. All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much for rocking with us, man. God bless you. Until we have an opportunity to do this again. Peace.
Peace.